I have a couple things. I know I talk a lot, but let me get a couple things out of the way. Number one, just to remind everyone, the shiny charm does not work in BDSP. I cannot believe how many people questioned this past week because I had to play BDSP. I'm not saying this to crush your hopes and dreams. I'm saying this because BDSP is a bad game. Now, you might ask yourself, what do you mean it's broken? What do you mean it doesn't work? In order to get the shiny charm in BDSP, you need all 493 Pokemon. It's not the 150. You need a whole Pokedex. And the item itself, the actual shiny charm, says that it will increase the chance of finding shiny Pokemon in the wild, which is what it exactly says in Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon and X and Y. It's the same copy and paste. Couple things here. One, they said it was a faithful remake. It ain't faithful at all because the shiny charm never existed in Diamond and Pearl. It was introduced in Black 2, White 2. That was the first time the shiny charm was ever introduced. So you're wrong about it being faithful. Number two, it's lying to you. It does work with Masuda method. So if you are making eggs in BDSP and you have the shiny charm, it does work there. But the actual description says it will increase finding Pokemon in the wild. It doesn't. It doesn't work at all. Is it broken? Maybe. Did they update the game? Yes, several times. BDSP had several updates to fix a lot of different bugs in that game. The shiny charm was never fixed. Now, why I think this game is absolute dog water is they could have just... One, not include the shiny charm if they were sticking with the faithful remake part. Number two, it doesn't work, so why did you include it? Number three, you had plenty of opportunities to patch it and fix it. On top of that, if your intention was for it not to work with wild Pokemon, then change the description of the item and not lie to literally everyone who bought the game. You were just lying to your customers. They expect the item to work and say what it does based on previous versions of the game, and it doesn't do that. Now, they did. No, don't say like, oh, well, they can't change the item. They did. They changed how the text worked in Legends Arceus. They changed how it worked in Scarlet and Violet. They just changed a couple words. All they could have done, all Ilka could have done in like the 6 updates they did for BDSP was like the shiny charm increases shiny Pokemon when hatched through eggs. They could have just changed in the wild to hatch through eggs, and it would have fixed the entire problem. You're just literally lying to your player base. I don't know who at the Pokemon Company is listening right now, because that in itself is it's just so disingenuous to your entire, like, how would you know that? And to all the people this week in my Twitch streams that are like, oh, I didn't know that, like, why would you? Like the game is lying to you.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised you don't know it, because you would expect when the item in the game tells you that it's working, that it would work, and it just doesn't. So I guess, I don't know, that's your PSA. The shiny charm doesn't work. It sucks. You thought trading in Pocket was the worst thing we were going to talk about? The shiny charm just being broken in BDSP is the worst thing we're going to talk about. Yeah, it doesn't. I don't even know why you would Masuda method in that game, anyways. Like, the Sword and Shield is a way better Masuda method game than BDSP.
Yes. Agreed.
Yep.
I'm glad that wasn't a hot take. Sword and Shield is a much better Masuda method game. Speaking of Masuda method, this is what you can do, though. I'm going to give you some tips of completing your BDSP Pokedex. Number 1. Catch a Feebas in Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. Transfer it to Sword and Shield or Scarlet and Violet and just trade using the Prism scale and then transfer it back. Pokemon Home is just checking for the origin mark. So because it sees that the Feebas was originally caught in BDSP, it doesn't care how it evolved into Milotic. So that's going to save you a bunch of time. Number 2 is if you're missing those version exclusives like Murkrow, Misdreavus, I don't remember the other ones. Anyway, all those Pokemon version exclusives, you can just catch them in like Legends Arceus or Scarlet and Violet, trade them into BDSP, and then just breed them real quick. You just like need 2 of each. if you want to evolve something like a Cranidos or a Shieldon, which I think they evolve at like level 35 or 40, you can catch those or breed those and then move them to Scarlet and Violet, use a bunch of candy, and then move them back. And now you've evolved them pretty quickly. So you could evolve, like when I say like evolve, like you just literally take a box of 30 Pokemon you need to evolve and then move them to Scarlet and Violet and then evolve them all and then move them back into home. And they actually don't even have to go back to BDSP because once they touch home and they see the origin mark and they see the evolutions, you don't actually have to move them to BDSP. So those are a couple ways you can accelerate your Manaphy hunt.
Gonna have to do that because I don't want to go through.
Minimize the amount of time you spend in those broken games.
Yeah. For sure.
I guess I played a lot of BDSP because when I booted up Manaphy, I had 96 out of 150.
Okay.
And it took me 6 hours of the last like 54 I needed.
Mm-hmm.
Too many hours. That's 6 too many hours. I have to play that game again.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that BDSP got a mythical and Scarlet and Violet got a mythical and then Legends just got like an amorous.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. I was like, wait a second. There's a difference here.
I mean, an amorous is still cool. It's still a really good reward, I think, for completing your Pokedex.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a shiny you can't get otherwise at the moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can breed Manaphy for Fione, and Fione can breed for Fione, and Fione has never been shiny locked, so Fione and Manaphy both make Fione. Fione does not evolve. It's just a weird thing with those two Pokemon.
Yes.
Maybe don't breed that in BDSP. Maybe take that to a game where the shiny charm is easier to get.
I remember, I feel like you bred Fione in
Ultra Sun, Ultra
Moon.
Yeah.
I remember you getting that shiny. It was like 5,000 eggs later or something.
Yeah. It was one of, I think it was either my first or second like ever Masuda hunt or something was Fione.
It was early for sure. Yeah. I just remember because what I remember about it was your reaction to
was it
when
good?
it finally
I don't
hatched.
even remember.
I just remember your reaction to it being a very good reaction. A reaction that you'd expect someone who just spent 5,000 eggs hunting.
Oh, sure.
Shiny.
Yeah, it's cool that Pokemon Home updated. The good rewards, I think, that are just like not hand-me-outs.
Yeah,
I don't plan on paying for it. I have considered paying for the Cynthia items. But I just did budgeting this last week, and the subscription is not in it for me.
Right.
I think that's the reality that's going to happen. I think that if you are free to play